The unspoken rule that adaptations are trash compared to the book has been proven right many times before, but when it comes to The Housemaid, I was very surprised, and I'm gonna tell you exactly why. Before we get into the movie, let's talk a little bit about the book. This is a very well-known thriller written by Frida McFadden. Honestly, I thought it was a decent thriller with the usual short chapters and the snappy sentences. I didn't really expect the plot twist at the end, which is great, but it was a rather simple progression of events. The ending was a little bit disappointing for me as well. Overall, I gave it a 3-star. Because this was all over Book Talk and a bestseller, we now have an adaptation with Sydney Sweeney and Amanda Seyfried. The movie stays true to the book for the most part, especially in the beginning. We have Millie, played by Sydney Sweeney, which is a fresh out of prison girl that gets a job as a housekeeper for the seemingly perfect, very rich Winchester family. Nina, played by Amanda Seyfried, is the one to hire her as a maid because she's expecting and she needs some help around the house. After the first few scenes, you could tell that Amanda Seyfried ate this role up. She was so damn good as Nina. It was really fun watching her portray this character so lively and even better than the book, in my opinion. For the first part of the plot, Millie discovers that the Winchester family isn't what she expected. They have a lot of problems and Nina is basically bonkers. The kid hates her. Nina is the biggest bitch ever and she accuses Millie of throwing away her notes. So Millie isn't having the best time in this household. Now, Andrew, who's Nina's husband, is basically a saint. He treats Millie with respect, he calms down Nina whenever she has a mental breakdown, and frankly, he is kind of hot. So Millie starts developing a crush for Andrew. The pacing of the movie was alright. Compared to the book, obviously, the book will always feel like such a more in-depth view into the story, and even though it is longer, you do not perceive it as longer. The movie felt a tad bit dragged out. It didn't bother me altogether, but I didn't manage to get a connection with the characters in the movie, not as much at least. One thing that stood out to me was the ominous music that started whenever Andrew entered the scene. And that happened from the very beginning, which points us to the fact that Andrew will be the bad guy in the end. And I don't know why they chose to do that, because in the book, I was oblivious. Even if there were signs, I was totally oblivious to it. The same thing happened later on in the movie after Nina showed very obviously that she is trying to destroy Millie's life. They had a conflict. In the book, Andrew still maintains his calm in this situation, while in the movie, he screams like a lunatic at Nina. And that is the biggest red flag ever, is it not? I prefer what happened in the book because I personally enjoy not having a clue about who is the bad guy, but other people prefer to have a hint at it. So this is just the decision of the movie director. But what I'm saying is that they made it quite obvious. Another thing I really liked is that Nina slapped Millie at this point in the movie. That was just an addition I didn't know I needed, but I really liked it. This whole conflict was about Andrew throwing Nina out of the house. After she escaped this household, we have the scene where she screams, sort of laughs, and has this release that she is out of this house. And I really liked how Amanda Seyfried acted in this scene. Now from this point on, Millie and Andrew grow really close and they end up having hot and steamy sex in a hotel room. Now when I say hot and steamy, I mean very hot and very steamy. Did I enjoy it? Absolutely, I was giggling like crazy. But was it a must? No, the book basically fades to black except for a few kissing scenes. So the whole spicy part, I don't think it adds anything. It rather gives a vibe to the movie. I don't have an opinion about it. I feel like the movie could be equally good without it. I'm not really sure why they decided to add a more graphic, spicy scene in the movie. There was no need for it. Then we have this other character, the sexy Italian gardener, which has a really big role in the book. And in the movie, he's basically non-existent. We have one scene at the beginning and then he is just in passing in the scene 2 times. In the book, Enzo has such a crucial role in helping Nina out of her situation that I'm not sure why they even decided to add him all together if they took his story out of the movie, you know? Because with the way they decided to structure the movie, this character not being so present doesn't really affect it. It works without him. Now, after having hot, steamy sex, their relationship really starts to build. They are in the house all alone without Nina, and their relationship is perfect in the beginning. But from this point on, the differences between the book and the movie are more apparent. Now, whether you watched the movie or read the book, you already know that... Now, if you didn't and you plan to watch the movie or read the book, just mind that from now on, I'm gonna spoil the whole entire ending. So, just be aware. Back to what I was saying, you know that their relationship was perfect up until Andrew gets upset with Millie for doing a really banal thing. Like in the book, she forgets some books on the coffee table and that pisses Andrew off, while in the book she shatters this expensive china that Andrew's mother bought. Nonetheless, he gets angry and shows his real self, which is a psychopath. They decided to change the punishment Andrew inflicts on Millie into a more gory alternative. Instead of Millie having to balance really heavy books on her stomach, she has to cut her abdomen 21 times. A bit excessive, yeah, but it works, because the plate she shatters is in 21 pieces now, so she needs a cut for every piece. When I was reading the book, I had a hard time imagining how heavy those books are and how could they inflict so much pain. I know she had to balance them for hours on end, but whatever. It was just hard for me to imagine, and I believe that having to cut her skin so many times shows much more of how crazy Andrew actually is. She finds a knife that Nina left for her in the attic and manages to trick Andrew to switching places. So now she is the one torturing Andrew. I feel like Andrew's character was portrayed decently enough. But when it comes to Millie, I couldn't help but notice that it was kind of flat. There weren't many voice inflections or even facial expressions. And that made the character feel shallow. I didn't really perceive Millie as a real person, while in the book I did. I'm no expert, but I would have loved to see Sydney Sweeney leaning more into the role and trying to convey something more than just the baseline emotions. I feel like there was so much more to explore with this character. When Millie is angry, it's not just her being angry, there's a little bit of craziness there, and I wanted to really be able to see all those emotions that are in the back, which I could see with Nina. So it was just a little bit disappointing. A little tiny bit. In the book, Andrew's torture spans over a longer period of time, and if I remember correctly, he actually dies of dehydration after pulling his teeth out and having to balance even more heavy books on his stomach. Now, in the movie, he only pulls his teeth out. That's what happens in the attic. In the book, Nina makes an appearance at this point, but they decided to change the whole entire ending, which I believe was a good call. In the adaptation, Nina actually frees Andrew from the attic, believing it's Millie, and then Andrew tries to kill her. And that's when Millie makes an appearance and pushes Andrew over the stair railing, and he falls to his death. While in the book, he never actually escapes the attic. After this, we have the very ending, which is basically identical to the book. I personally didn't really like the ending. Millie is hired as a housemaid once again after being recommended by Nina to another family where the husband is abusive, and she's basically hired to kill him. I felt like this was a rather lazy way to open the door for a sequel. I would have preferred a different way. I didn't like that in both the book and the movie, but that was the author's choice of introducing the door for a new book. For a more blunt comparison, I honestly expected the movie to be trash. I thought it was going to be really bad, because that's what usually happens with adaptations. But it wasn't. It was a good, dare I say. I liked some parts better in the movie than in the book. As I said, Nina was so well portrayed, I honestly prefer the movie version of this character. With the ending in the movie, it was more fast-paced and full of tension compared to the book. A book will always make you have a deeper connection with the characters, so that's something you can't really have in one movie. Maybe a series, but in a singular adaptation, I'm not sure about that. Since the movie mostly follows the book, I'd say that some people who have already read the book might get a little bit bored while watching the movie. I know I did at some points, but I have the attention span of a goldfish, so that might be a me problem. I think they did a pretty decent job with the movie, and I am curious to see how you perceive the movie after reading the book. Tell me in the comment section, did you also enjoy Nina more in the movie? Or am I the only one? If you enjoyed the video and would like to see more comparison between the books and their adaptations, I could definitely make this a series, so let me know in the comment section. Alright, thank you for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!